So we are talking about org awards. I'm reintroducing because I forgot to record. Let's see who's here. Our poll looks like it's primarily virtual. So a lot of you are doing virtual ceremonies. A handful of you are doing in-person ceremonies. And then there might be some gray area for trying to do both or some sort of hybrid. So we'll talk about what that looks like. We are going to do breakouts for people planning to do in-person or virtual. So if you are looking to do either or both, you can pick which one you might need a little bit more help with in planning. I know those of you doing in person might have a lot to talk about in terms of safety and what sort of things happen at that ceremony. And then virtual, obviously our priority will be what do we put? Where do we post it? How do we execute a virtual? So we're going to start at the top. Let's talk about maybe what sorts of awards you host, right? What do you have on your campus? So I'm going to pull up the chat here. A lot of you are listing your URLs to look at all of your awards. That's great. You to share maybe some of your most unique, if you think there's something that your campus does that's like, this is a really cool award. Because I think most of us probably do organization of the year, event of the year, things like that. But if there's an award that either you've traditionally done that you're like, hey, here's something we could talk about, or there's an award that you've created especially for this kind of remote learning environment, let me know, because we can talk about maybe things that people are adding now. Yes, and the question came up, this is all going to be in the document as soon, give me a couple days. But yes, the chat transcript, links, we will compile all of this to make it super easy for you. So Michelle says that they have awards aligned with university values. That's great. So I assume there's probably 3 or 4 values then to give out clubs awards based on those.
If you were not expecting this call, please hang up. Otherwise, press any
mute. All right. So we have an adult award for the adult student population. A resiliency award is being added this year, right? So I know at UC Riverside, we're thinking about one that's about like grit, right? So like determination, someone that overcame, in the pandemic and was able to still succeed. So having something like that. We usually have a graphics and apparel competition. So favorite, club apparel or flyers. Yeah, we've been thinking about a graphic design sort of award too, or marketing award. We've got some tied to scholarships. Yeah, so student leaders of the year, community builder of the year. Those are good. New club of the year, advisor of the year. Yep, good. A volunteer who isn't a club leader. Yeah, we have an award that we used to call the unsung hero. So someone that's maybe not an officer, but is doing a lot of work. So that's great to recognize those people. There are some great ones here. Good. Does anyone want to talk about an award? Maybe Michelle, you bring up the Spirit of SU Award. Do you mind sharing what that looks like?
For sure. Yeah, the carrot has an owie. James says hi. So yeah, we had this Spirit of SU Award, and we are at a Jesuit campus, and our students sort of struggle with identifying with most things that are school spirit related. So I'll put in the chat what we, sorry, somebody was chatting me privately, so let me copy again what we've revised the new description to be. And so we talk about it as like care for the university. So that could be school spirit and getting folks jazzed about athletics or just the school in general, orientation, admissions, that kind of thing. Or it could also be somebody who represents making our university better. We have a lot of students on campus who are really interested in social justice work and advocacy and activism. And so doing this sort of intentional reframe has really strengthened the number of folks that we get applying for this award. I don't know, it's really helped, I think, folks see the alignment between this particular award and what we offer.
That's awesome. I'm looking for other ones that people might want to learn about in here. Selena, you mentioned something about outstanding membership retention. Is that something that groups apply for, or is that something that the department gives? What does that look like?
It's something that the orgs either self-nominate themselves for, so they can talk about how they're engaging their membership in innovative ways, how they're retaining members and giving more information about that. So that's something we started last year, and it's been pretty successful. So it's nice to hear how orgs are engaging their members and keeping them interested and coming back to the organization.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. I should have expected the chat to be wild with 88 of you. Social media awards, virtual marketing awards. Some people mentioned that they're also doing more kind of regular, like monthly awards to kind of take some of the pressure off of the end of the year awards. We're doing that too. We also, Jasmine, can you talk about our Social Justice Activist of the Year award?
Yes, hi everyone, I'm Jasmine. And so this past year, we created a new award, the Social Justice Activist of the Year. And this can be an individual in the organization or the group in general. And so this is where the students have an opportunity to just really, I guess, just like promote or just make awareness about the type of advocacy that they do within their organization. And so that's pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah, is anyone else doing any sort of like social justice awards that clubs are receiving? Because I know a lot of groups have been doing more and more this year. Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of ideas here. If you came here looking for awards to contemplate, I think you're set. So now I want to think about, this is just kind of a random question to see if anyone has anything. Do you use your org awards for anything other than just organization awards? Like we've had people ask, like, can they present leadership awards? Can they present community service awards? Like things that aren't necessarily organization focused. So maybe what else do you use your ceremony for? Or what else kind of gets time in the spotlight there? Either you can, raise your hand, or you can just put it in the chat. Let me know. A sustainability award that the Office of Sustainability presents. Okay. Okay, separated out service and leadership into its own thing. Okay, some people are maybe heavier on leadership awards with a few club awards. Okay. Some of the smaller private schools might mix with residence life, Greek awards. Yeah, good. Okay, our second poll question to kind of see how today is going to veer is who judges or decides these awards? So this is going to be another kind of topic for debate. How are these winners chosen? And this one allows for multiple choice. So your options are either the staff straight up decide, so we're giving out these awards, the students vote, or do you have a team of people from outside who judge and critique these awards? And if you have multiple, you can select multiple. Let's just get a feel for how this looks. So there's some good results for all of them. So the dominant one right now is that a team of reviewers from outside review the awards. That's primarily what we do, but we've had definite struggles with that in terms of people responding, they commit to something, then they don't actually do it. So does anyone want to share maybe a successful way that you've kind of had campus partners review that, it seems easy and smooth and people actually respond? Does anyone want to share some tips, some wisdom?
I can share really quickly. Hi, everyone. I'm Alexis. I'm from Auburn University. So we have the annual involvement awards, which is in my Office of Student Involvement. So we always have the outgoing SGA president as a reviewer. We have one person from student affairs, but this is the time when we like to bring in our campus partners. So we have someone from academic affairs. We have someone from like a faculty member. We try to bring people from all throughout campus. We're equal, so they can see what we're doing in student affairs. So we usually have about 7 to 8 people on the judges committee. And I can send out information. I can send it to you, Adam, about what we do, because we're actually in the process of getting nominations for our awards. And they will be in person because we're in Alabama and everything's in person now. So exciting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, if any of you have documents that maybe aren't necessarily live on a website, but you have scoring rubrics, you have anything you might send to committee members, whatever you send me, you can always just reply to any of the Student Org Summit emails. If you send me stuff by the end of today, or tonight, then I will compile and you can share all that. Because some of you might have really good rubrics for how you judge and decide winners for some of these awards. Yeah. And then some people said that their internal staff just decide winners. So does anyone want to share maybe why that is on your campus, maybe the benefits, I know we might get pushback for something like that. So if you want to share maybe how that process works, anyone that internally decides winners.
We have a mix of both. So it's a committee of our staff, our Ethnic Student Center staff, because it's the one event where our two offices come together for awards. And then a couple of our elected officials will help us out. And our justification is that we're the ones that know about what clubs are doing. So we can give some insight to what that nomination meant, or we can nominate clubs ourselves too to kind of throw into the mix. So yeah, if we had outsiders, it'd be like, well, I don't know, what was that program? It would take time to actually explain the award or the person or the program. So it helps us to do it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually ran into an issue where that might be useful a couple years ago, I think before anyone else that's at UCR was here, where the president of a club wrote a glowing nomination that wasn't really true. And so they ended up winning an award because the committee chose, they changed the world with this club, where everyone in the club was like, this was the worst president we've ever had. And so that's kind of when we started to maybe speak up a little bit more or do a little curating of the awards before we sent them to the committees. If there's people that we knew really weren't up to task, right, for those awards. Anyone else want to speak up about what process you use and any tips that might be valuable to this group, lessons learned about scoring and rubrics?
Adam, I can talk about UCR's process.
Yeah.
At UC Riverside. So basically we send out a VCSA announcement asking for reviewers for the OG Awards. And we typically get about maybe 10 responses, 10 people who RSVP to want to do that. And so after that, I'll basically send them maybe 3 to 4 awards to judge. And then they will basically utilize a rubric to, judge those accordingly. And basically what the lessons learned with that is some people will just give people 5 just straight across the board. And then some people will really judge critically, it would just be harsh. And it's just hard to have a balance in the middle of okay, what score do we take? It's just hard deciphering between the scores sometimes. And so I think that for this year, we're trying to give a training prior to sending out the awards to the reviewers.
Yeah, even if we have a really detailed rubric of how people should score, the scores are wildly different. So we kind of always have that problem with people that are easy and people that are really difficult judgers. Okay, we got some comments about how people select or how they compile forms. So using Microsoft Forms, Google Forms, yeah, easier ways than just doing emailing back and accepting documents that way. Okay, so now we're going to break out. Create these rooms. So remember, if you're doing a hybrid, you can choose. Then we're going to come back in maybe 20, 30 minutes. And so the big bulk of our time is going to be talking to people about ceremonies similar to yours. So have fun. You should be able to select whichever room you want.
Okay, everybody. It sounds like I'm moderating this session. Okay, I'm Luke Zielinski, by the way, and I'm from Maryland, and I attend Warwick Community College. I'm the SGA president here. If you have any questions for me, just ask them. All right, question 1. Has anyone put much thought into safety precautions for an in-person event? I can say yes, that my college has. What we do is we wear masks and we socially distance.
Our students have to fill out, and including us university departments and offices, we actually have to fill out a health and safety considerations form. And then once that comes through, I'm actually the person who oversees that. And so then once that is submitted, we then send it over to, if there's any questions or like red flags, we have no guidelines about it. But if there are like red flags or concerns, whether it's like how many people there will be or traveling, then we send it over to our critical incident and policy group, and they then review it. Since they have a bit more experience in this realm than I do. And so then together we work on it and get things approved. And we were approved to do our award ceremony in person so far. And also I'm Heidi. I am with Fort Hays State University. So we're out here in Kansas. And so things are pretty status quo-ish where we are out here. We're in a better place than we were when the students came back in the fall. And so it's definitely going to be interesting, and we're all kind of holding our breath for that late into the spring semester. But we do have virtual as a backup plan. But that's about what we do. Is you have to fill out the health and safety form, and then we check all of the boxes, and then they need to have hand sanitizer, masks enforced, and all of that good stuff at any event.
That's
Hello.
interesting.
My name is Sylvia Reyes, pronouns she, her, hers. I'm from Texas State University. So what we're kind of doing is similar to Heidi, where there is like an event proposal kind of thing that has to happen where you're outlining all of your logistics, the safety measures, rules, communication plan. All of that is actually routed up to our VPSA currently. So every in-person event has to be routed up. And so they're kind of monitoring it on a, I'd say 2 to 3 week time frame based on what the case numbers look like in our area. And so we might have an event like right now we're planning for an in-person experience, but 2 to 3 weeks out, if it starts to look like our cases are rising in the area, then that event has to be moved virtually or canceled altogether. So I know what we're trying to do in our in-person experience is actually hosting a week-long recognition thing. So instead of just hosting like an awards banquet locked in at one time in the evening, we'll be recognizing different categories on different days of the week. So the example would be Monday, we're recognizing our general members. There'll be a pass-by event. Tuesday, we'll be recognizing maybe executive board members as a whole. Wednesday would be recognizing presidents or directors of the organizations. Thursday would be geared towards advisors. And then hopefully having something that recognizes award winners that Thursday evening. We're trying to avoid Fridays just because we don't typically see a lot of activity even in a normal season.
That's interesting. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
So I missed the question at the beginning. My name is Dawn, she, her, hers. I'm at Penn State University, And I guess my question, this is more of a question, so sorry if I'm just like barging in. I'm wondering, so ideally how we wanted to do some of our awards in the past that we couldn't is we wanted to invite all of our nominations and all of our winners to come. And then that would just be way too many. We have about 20 awards that we give out now. So that's a lot. And so we're trying to figure out, like, we know what our capacities are, but like what makes sense. I mean, if we're only inviting one person or two people from each organization for the awards, then we're looking at like 20 people. And does that really make sense for in person? So just wondering how other people were, like how the invitation piece was going to be on your end. We used to have 3 org members come, but that's when we were doing only 6 awards, and it was also combined with other awards. So it's now by itself, but it has 20 awards. So just trying to figure out how we can best do like invitations when we can't probably just open it up to anyone that was nominated to come.
How you doing? My name is Marcus Mays. I'm at the University of Texas, Assistant Director of Student Activities. Our awards banquet typically has 300 to 350 attendees. And so what we're looking at, obviously slimming that down quite a bit based on university policy and guidance. And we usually, for the organization aspect, we would also invite 4 members of that organization. But what we're looking at now is most likely only inviting 1 member, maybe 2, so they're not just by themselves representing the organization. But we're also looking at identifying what awards do we really want to highlight. And so, yes, all the awards, they're great. We want to highlight and recognize everyone, but what are the ones that we want to feature for in person? Our awards program within our Office of the Dean of Students encompasses all of our areas. So student activities, were student orgs in general, SFL, they have their own awards program. So we have a lot of units that have different programs. And so what we're navigating is having those units identify which specific awards that they want to elevate to be able to include in the in-person aspect. So we haven't fleshed that out all the way, but it's what's going through our brains right now, trying to figure that out. So I don't know if that helps any.
It does. Thank you for sharing, Marcus. Does anyone else have any more input on the first question of how has anyone put much thought into safety precautions for an in-person event?
This is Jeremy Sipple from Texas A&M University Commerce. We actually have to do a risk assessment as well as a safety plan for, excuse me, for our student organization awards. And it has to go through our vice president for student success, as well as our police department and our campus safety office. We're required to have masks at all times, socially distance, as well as have hand sanitizer as well present for any student, especially if you're handing out an award and multiple people touching it, things like that. So we've had to go through an entire risk assessment process that takes roughly about 2 weeks to go through. And if we want to have more than 100 people at the event, we actually have to have approval from a vice president before we can even have the actual awards. Otherwise, we'd have to go completely virtual.
That's interesting, Jeremy. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Okay, moving right along. Question number 2 asks, how might this year's ceremony be different from typical ceremonies in past years? I'll go ahead and start off and say that this year's ceremony, it will be held virtually. And that is the primary difference.
Same, we're looking at doing a hybrid. So again, that's where the elevation of certain awards comes into play. How do we limit that in person, but still provide a virtual opportunity? And so we're navigating what that looks like with the video and recording and tapping into some new resources that our unions have purchased to actually make it look good, better than what we thought it might be able to look like, but definitely looking at hybrid.
That's interesting. Anybody else?
I can say something about that.
Okay.
My current vice president has actually challenged me to make our in-person awards more engaging and more celebratory and more like pomp and circumstance than they've been in the past, because we do have a lot of students on campus, and with the pandemic and with other events being lessened, she wants us to add even more to this so that they can say that they've had a better experience, or that our student organizations could have a better experience at some point, and that we end the year on a high note rather than necessarily going into the year on a continual kind of upsetting or disappointing in some of the students' opinions note. So it's really a lot of like happiness and more pomp and more engaging and more opportunities for students to do things. Like we're adding a photo booth, we're adding more people doing music, etc., type things to make it more of an event than it was before.
That's very interesting. It sounds like a creative way to get people involved. Does anyone else have any input?
Well, I'll go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Julia Nembo. I'm from the University of Louisville. We are on our 22nd year of student awards. And normally, you know, they would be in person and the president is there and she shakes hands. Last year, because of COVID, we did announcements over Instagram, which was very boring and very impersonal. So what we would like to try to do this year is to hold it in our ballroom, which seats probably about 1,000 people, and we are going to spread everybody out. And that way the students still have the opportunity to walk across the stage, because that's what we hear from the students was the most important part to get recognized. And we would have somebody, you know, have a table with their award on the table, and they can go up when their name is called, walk across the stage, still have their picture taken with their award. We usually do a step and repeat banner. And then that way we're all separated out in this huge ballroom. But that way the students still have that memory of being noticed by their peers.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing, Julia. Does anyone else have any further input? Okay. Moving right along, the next question asks, in addition to awards being given out, how else do you incentivize attendance? I'll start off and say that a lot of the times for our events, we give a certificate of some kind. And if it is an in-person event, we'll give them a sheet of paper, for example, it says so-and-so attended this event. And if it's an online, I suppose a PDF version of that same document will just be emailed to that person.
For our awards, as mentioned, the individual units do some of their own awards, and they actually host their own smaller events prior to the big one. And so a lot of those students have already been publicly recognized. And so food used to be the big motivator to get them there, as well as some live music and entertainment. But specifically to student activities, our student organization specific awards, the finalists, student orgs are notified that they're a finalist of that event. And so that's part of the incentive for them to show up and learn who wins. And then our most outstanding student organization, award, which comes with $1,000. No one knows who the finalist is until they're there. And so that is a big surprise that day as well. Oh,
Very interesting.
background. In order to be a finalist for that most outstanding, they have to win one of the other awards. So being a finalist, they know that there's a chance that they are a finalist. So that's some background, so it doesn't sound weird.
Understood. Cool. Does anybody else have any input? Okay, moving right along. Have you ever attempted entertainment at the award ceremony, such as performance organizations? I don't think Warwick has. In terms, this sounds something like what Marcus was saying with live performance. I don't think Warwick has had a live performance in particular, but it does sound like a good idea. So that is something that would be an example, like a live musical performance, I guess. Has anyone else done something similar to that?
Hi, Megan Hicks, Ivy Tech in Sellersburg, Indiana. And we, every year, our student life office, we have a theme that kind of spreads the whole year. And so one year we had a Las Vegas performer come in and do Elton John and Little Richie, and that was the music during the event. And then another year we had, it was the greatest show. And so we had a local cirque troupe come in, and they just kind of walked around during the event doing all of their, illusions and whatever their talents were. So we've kind of tried to make our end of year awards. We're a very small institution, so we invite always the whole campus. So that will be the trick this year. We're looking at having this in person, but we'll be trying to move it outside to make social distancing a little bit easier. So we're not really sure what kind of entertainment we're going to have this year, but that's what we've done in the past.
It's very interesting, Megan. Thank you for sharing that. Well, it looks like I've exhausted the list of questions provided to me, and I have no idea how to proceed. So, like I said, I don't know how to proceed. So nothing. So I have nothing to say after that.
No, popcorn.
Popcorn.
To add to the entertainment aspect, since my time here in 2014, we've always had one of our student organizations do the performance, and we've always compensated them for that, kind of like they won an award, so they would get some type of compensation for that. This year, we're looking at doing a virtual, so a pre-recorded performance that we can tie into the program pretty seamlessly. So that's how we're looking at navigating it this year.
That's awesome. And I'm happy for you guys. Well, as I said, I'm still oblivious on how to continue with this.
I'll go ahead and
okay.
jump in as
Cool.
well.
Right.
So I mentioned it in the chat that, we had the theme, and I mentioned that earlier when I was speaking, but just kind of to expand a little bit more on the awards recipient part of our activities. So traditionally we do host a banquet where there are awards listed out, the nominees are announced, and the finalist is revealed. And then we do have intermissions where we have maybe student groups performing and things like that. But unfortunately this year we aren't able to provide a meal, or if we do provide a meal, the likelihood that it would be approved by our VPSA is even lower because of the risk liability with people lowering their masks and all of that to consume food. So what we were thinking was if we hosted an activity that's strictly only for the awards recipients and maybe 1 or 2 guests. So that way we can control how many people are in the space at any given time. If it comes down to it, we could schedule shifts or rotational times as well. But we were thinking to tie into our theme, maybe doing like a glow in the dark mini golf or something like that in our ballroom. So that way the students are able to have an activity that they can go and enjoy and have fun. And then every now and then we'll make an announcement of who the winners are for each category. So they know that they're coming in, that they're winning, but they may not know what they're winning or what award it was. And then just kind of taking a different approach to a traditional banquet format.
So how is everyone? Good? Thumbs up? Doing okay? Okay. So this is the primary spot. Looks like we have a lot of folks here. So virtual ceremonies. This is a place, if you did something last spring, definitely let us know. You can put that link in the chat. Maybe let's gauge how you presented that. I know Instagram was a way that some people did, so like an Instagram Live. Does anyone want to share how that process was? Was that easy, difficult? Would you do that again? Who wants to talk about Instagram?
I can. Hi, Jessica. We considered doing Instagram Live. However, it just seemed there's too many X factors. So actually I produced a video. We had different recordings and they submitted it to me. And then we uploaded it on IGTV and then had a drop release date that was well advertised. And students were able to, cast it up on their TVs and have their own little word ceremonies at their homes.
Okay, so you used Instagram, but it wasn't Instagram Live where people were engaging in real time. Okay. Did anyone try doing a live ceremony? Yeah, Michelle? Putting you on the spot to talk again.
Yeah, so I mean, I just put it in the chat, but we did a Zoom call with live streaming on YouTube, and it was so stressful.
Yeah.
So Elise is on. Elise, can you remind me which one we're looking at for this year? Elise is my grad assistant. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it's some sort of platform. I'll find it to you and what we're thinking about doing.
Okay. And then I assume some folks did YouTube. So we did a YouTube premiere. Does anyone want to share how that went? Would you do YouTube again? Pros, cons, anyone? Yeah, Anna?
Yeah, so we didn't do a real-time ceremony because the logistics of trying to get that many students to attend were really daunting. And it's a little underwhelming if like half your awardees don't actually show up. So we decided to do a YouTube live premiere. And we had different staff members from our office and some of our collaborating departments make a virtual presentation where they said like, oh, the so-and-so award honoring leadership goes to blah, 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 congratulations. And just edited all those together and did a live premiere at the time you would normally do a ceremony. We're looking to do that again this year. I think one of the benefits was that it took a lot of the live logistics kind of, out of our hands, but then it did end up being a little bit less personal than being able to do it live with students. So I don't know that I have an answer to sort of fix that impersonal problem. I'm definitely hoping to get some suggestions today. I dropped a link to our video in the chat. If anyone has questions, I'll also drop my email there if you are looking at doing that process for your institution.
Yeah, great. We also did YouTube premiere. Someone asked how it works. So essentially you create a video just like YouTube, right? So it's a pre-recorded You can edit, splice together people's footage, anything that you would normally do for a pre-recorded video, but then it premieres in real time. We actually had a higher turnout for our YouTube premiere than we would have, almost double than we would have had in an in-person event. The only thing we weren't really expecting was chat moderation, because you can't control what people are going to say. And so we had some kind of wonky comments, and so trying to kind of enjoy the show in real time, but also like I don't know what that means. Is that something offensive? And you're trying to like kind of real time figure out these comments, and should we censor or delete comments? Or are we just leaving them up and seeing what happens? So I think the chat was the only thing that we didn't really think about too much. So the question, is it a pre-recorded live ceremony? Pretty much. Yeah, so it's like a pre-recorded package that you can make look as polished as you want, but it happens at the same time for everyone. And so you can see in the comments people celebrating when they get chosen for an award. So I think we're planning to do it again. We are looking at ways, and this is kind of segueing into the next kind of topic, is how to make that engaging. We did have multiple people presenting awards, but it is still a lot of talking. And so I wanted to see for virtual ceremonies, if you figured out any other ways to liven that up, do performances or like anything else to make that engaging. So does anyone either have something that you've done or something you're planning to do that is like, we're going to reach out to performance groups, we're going to try this? Does anyone have any innovative ideas they want to share? Everyone's here to get innovative ideas. I get it.
I can jump in really quick.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how innovative it is. You might probably have heard of this, but when we kind of did our virtual Greek awards last spring, and it was obviously kind of a quick put together, but we just did Jackbox games at the beginning to kind of have everyone interacting and having fun, and then we went into the awards. So it's not like super innovative, I don't think, but it was just a way to kind of get people together doing something interactive instead of just listening to a presentation for 10 minutes. So
yeah. Anyone else have cool ideas?
I'll jump in. Angie from UC Irvine. We wanted to keep the IG Live segments really short, but sporadically throughout the week. So we didn't want folks to sit 5 minutes long, 10 minutes long. So we're like, every day we posted like the results of like 3 awards, and then the next day another 3. So that way, at least they're getting little snippets throughout the week.
Good. Has anyone tried doing like performances, like pre-recorded, anything like that you can share? Because we're debating, we're not encouraging groups to gather. And so we're kind of hesitant about encouraging groups to do dance videos or so it's kind of this fine line, like what would be fine for them to record on their own. And a lot of performances are difficult to pull that off. So we're brainstorming. We're also thinking about ways for student orgs to contribute more instead of just being recipients. So we are thinking about almost like a thank you section where students can say like, hey, thanks to this department for this, or my advisor is really great, like allowing them to submit video content that we can edit together. So we're thinking about that. And then we had groups create commercials for tabling. That was kind of our replacement for involvement fairs. And so we're trying to think of a way to share some of maybe the best commercials, or when someone wins an award, we then show their recruitment commercial. So it livens things up a little bit, but we're trying to figure out a way to incorporate those commercials into our ceremony as well. Any other ideas that you're thinking about for this year to make it more engaging than just sitting and listening for an hour?
Hi, my name's Abby. I'm from Tufts, and we're actually thinking about using a platform called Remo, which we're already paying for our student orgs to use throughout the year. But basically, it's set up when you look at it like a live event, and so like they can sit at the same table as their student group, and like have their videos on in real time and like react together, and you can have up to 1,000 people with like the membership that we have, and so you'll be able to accommodate all of our student groups, and there could be a table for each group like that we have. That's the same way we did our involvement fair, and people can hop from table to table. You can have speakers who can present, and so at least they're able to talk to each other and interact the same way you would in real life if you were at a table with your executive board. So we're thinking about using that, but we're also using, we have a social media team who are putting together announcement videos for the different like clubs and orgs. So when a group submits their award nomination, we've asked them if they have any Zoom photos, or like any like flyers or anything that they've used throughout the year to submit them, so that when the winners are selected, we can make videos for each of the winners that we can play during the event, but also put on our Instagram and our Facebook pages after the event is over as well.
We had a few people in the chat also say maybe some stuff that they had the winners maybe record. Does anyone want to share how, like, if you're sending students like, hey, open this letter, record a speech, like how do you navigate that with trying to keep it a surprise? Like, our campus is having multiple orgs recording kind of thank you speeches. Like what does that process look like if you have some sort of live reveal or something like that? Because I'm just thinking of all the logistics and trying to not tell them they won, but also not break their hearts if they don't win after they just recorded this video. Okay, that's fine if no one wants to share. Other things, is anyone trying to do anything new this year that you think is a cooler, unique idea for a virtual? You know, we had a few cool ideas already. Anyone else want to share?
I can go ahead and add. Hi, everyone. My name's April. I'm with the University of Rio Grande Valley. I was actually out on maternity leave when we transitioned to a virtual environment. And so our area did not do much for last year's ceremony. All we got to do was post on Instagram, like an actual announcement of the recipients. And so what we're trying to do this year is do some sort of presentation live via Zoom. Little history on our university, we haven't had much engagement from our student groups to actually attend the ceremony. We almost themselves for awards, and so we're really want to change that mindset for our students. And so what we're trying to do today or this year round is we're going to be having a student be a co-host for the live thing. So like they hear me speak all the time. They don't want to hear me again. So we're actually reaching out to one of our SGA representatives, smooth, really easygoing, who could really just, reach out to students and come up with, some sort of script on the spot if need be. And so he would actually be co-hosting with a staff member. And so we're hoping that that will really help make a stronger connection with our student leaders and encourage them to attend to hopefully, hear that they win an award. And if not, just for the simple matter of like supporting, one of their SJA reps. And so we hope that that has a good impact in our community.
Yeah, that's great. And then someone else did say in the chat too that they don't keep it a surprise from the winners. So are there any campuses that want to share what that's like? Because I think our only hesitation is attendance, right? That if someone doesn't win, are they going to tune in, right? But to someone that tells people up front, you're winning this award, please show up. What has that been like for attendance, enthusiasm? What is that like?
We've had success in the past, at least, of sending personal nomination or not nomination, but invitation. Be like, hey, you've been nominated. Come find out if you won an award and bring your friends, and to like make it exciting. Having that personal invitation seems to work well.
Mm-hmm. But then they're also not expecting to win, so you're not really setting them up for, heartbreak. Yeah. Anyone?
We do,
Yeah, go
sorry,
ahead.
we, at UC San Diego, we do something really similar to what Jen just said, and we email them and say they've been selected as a finalist so that they know they're in the top. It seems to work.
Yeah, and then that helps if you need the people there, right? Like if we were doing in person, you'd want the winning group to be there, and so you want to make sure, like, you're a finalist, like hint, hint, be there. Yeah, because it's always bad when a group isn't there to accept their award. Virtually doesn't matter so much because you won't notice if they're not in the chat or not, but yeah, in person, that's always tough. Did any of you have questions or things that you want to gauge from this group about doing a virtual ceremony?
I do, Adam. I'm curious if so if you do your award ceremony virtually through Zoom, let's say, and let's say we're like, this group won. What does that look like afterwards? Do they have a moment to kind of give a speech, to kind of, do we spotlight them? Is it like you won and then some chat energy and then next award kind of thing? I'd love to hear what that looks like.
Yeah, who wants to share?
I can share. I work with Michelle Harper-Kowalczyk at Seattle U. So we do tell award nominees and award recipients up front. And last year we invited all of the award recipients onto the Zoom call with us. So they like turned on their video and took a moment to like say thank you. Like we sent little awards in the mail. So they were like opening those and celebrating together as a community. And then like in the chat on YouTube Live was where like the celebration was going on.
So another advantage to telling people in advance that you can make sure that they're prepared with a speech. Did anyone do a spontaneous, you're the winner, and then expect people to do some sort of talk or response? No. I know we would just show some pictures. So we'd gather stuff when they submit nominations. So we'd put their name up, have a picture. This year, because I'm doing our video editing, I'm toying around with doing video of each group because they submitted these commercials. And so a lot of them have stock footage that they've sent us of, here's our old games and our meetings and events. So it might be cool to do video of them, but I'm not sure if everyone has that. So we'll see how that pans out. Anyone else with thoughts about kind of the unveiling, the reveal of winners, and how you handle that? Or how you're planning to handle that?
Adam, this is Jenny again at UC San Diego. I don't necessarily have a response to that question, but I have a question for you. I know that you are very skilled at creating videos, way more so than anyone in our department.
Stop.
But can you maybe share about how to edit? Like, you've shared this before, but I don't remember, like the tool that you use to edit any videos that you get?
Yeah, so a preface to those of you that don't know me, I'm not really that good at video. Like I'm good enough, right?
Yes, you are.
I'm able to put together PowerPoint slides and put some music in the background and make it look okay. But I always tell people to use like software like iMovie or like, free stuff that you can find for editing is fine, especially student orgs that are trying to create a video or things like this. Like you don't need to be using high-end editing software to put something like this together. So I just use iMovie, and then I create tutorials for student orgs on how to use iMovie so that they're able to put together these commercials and videos for their clubs. Yeah, DaVinci is free for PC users. Okay, good. Some iPhone recommendations. Yeah, if you have like a media center or graphic designers on campus that can help you. Like back when we were on campus, we did have computers with that software and people that knew how to use it. It doesn't really work now if there's no one they can talk to. Yeah, so I just use super basic software. And then I am open to helping. If you're like, hey, can you show me how to do something? Like I've met with a few of you on this call about how to, pull off some of this stuff, just let me know. I've taught people from 0 to hero how to use iMovie. So if you need help, just let me know. Other questions you have for the group? Someone did ask if they can see that iMovie tutorial, so let me pull that up. But I'm sure a lot of you came here with stuff that you wanted to learn. So this is a good place to ask if you have those questions.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Patrick. One of the things that we're concerned about is that we've only had about 25% of our normal programs, like because clubs just haven't been doing them. And so we're concerned about, like, are we even going to get nominations? Because sometimes it's a struggle to just get them in general for us. Although we've been pretty good at getting, we have like 15, 16 awards we give out. And I think one of the things we were thinking about is like doing more general awards, like doing program of the year, but it would incorporate a lot of different things and just do multiple awards of that. I don't know what other people are doing in regards to that, but just curious.
I feel like I'm talking a lot. I apologize. But we have the same concern, Patrick, and that's why we're switching to more of a ceremony, or it's not ceremony, but celebration of like, we did it. We got through this year, and let's like just celebrate together and appreciate each other, and giving a platform for leaders so they might just tell us that they want to say something, and we'll kind of slot them into some kind of timeline. And just say, hey, here's your, 2 minutes of just bragging about your club and members and graduating seniors and giving them props, and rather than formal awards, which is sad because then that means there's going to be a spot missing on our plaques that we put, around campus and that, but it's just a weird year. So we'll go with it.
That's a good question. I want to bring this up again when we go back. So I won't answer now, but if you don't get a chance now, we'll talk big group too about this. Yeah. Glenn?
I was going to share, we have the same sentiment here at Cal State Fullerton. And so we're trying to figure out, and I think we've always, for the past few years, we've tried to focus more on what are the contributions of all of our student organizations, not just those receiving awards. And so we created like a student organization appreciation week where we also, take a day to recognize our graduating students. We have an advisor appreciation day, a member appreciation day. But for this year, we were talking about, recognizing all the student groups who started a new organization this year, and amidst the pandemic, there's like a lot going on, and for them to have done that is a milestone in itself. And so trying to find those small wins of like, okay, who's, maybe we're going to talk about, these are the groups that did something related to mental health programming, and like looking through your event management system to see, are there themes? Like these are the groups that did programs about, and so instead of having them submit through a nomination process, just taking it upon yourselves to recognize the groups that are already doing things, but may not think it's worthy of like nominating for a particular award. And so trying to find what are those small wins, because even them existing in itself for this year is an accomplishment.
Yeah, that's great. So adding in more kind of staff chosen celebrations and recognition that you can give. Yeah, that's great. All right, so I'm going to close this room so we can go back, because I feel like a lot of this might pertain to in-person ceremonies as well. So we're going to continue this conversation back in the main room. Did everything go okay, Luke?
Yes, sir. Everything went fine.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So now we can keep talking generally about organization awards, reviewing, giving out awards. So what else do we want to talk about? What other questions do you have for other campuses? What did you come here to learn about?
I can hop in. This is Paige from UNC Charlotte. I am wondering what other campuses do in terms of recognizing the students and any sort of prizes or physical awards or monetary awards or other things that you all do to kind of incentivize people to apply for the awards and celebrate them after it's done.
Marcus Mays, University of Texas. We actually have a couple programs that we have. We have one as a recognition program, self-paced. If they complete some events and activities, then they can complete the program. The organizations that complete that program are entered into monetary drawings. And so we do 10 drawings for $200. And then we also do one drawing for $1,000 for that particular recognition program. For our traditional student organization award program, we have 15 awards. 14 of those awards come with $300. The one award, the most outstanding, comes with $1,000. And each of those award recipients receive a kind of a vinyl banner that is custom designed. That is like 2 by 3 feet. Very nice, something that they can use while tabling. And then we also provide digital versions of that banner to all the winners, as well as all the finalists get a digital banner that says they were a finalist.
That's an awesome idea. Who else incentivizes either winning or nominating, attending? What else do you do to incentivize awards? I had this great idea as an incentive, but it didn't happen. We have an empty hallway in our student union. And so I had this idea to create a hall of fame for the winners each year. And so you could go down and see the groups that won. So a little different than seeing their name on a perpetual plaque, right? But like almost like a banner, like Marcus was talking about, like something that says, organization of the year. And of course, the pandemic hit and our budgets were slashed. So we'll see in 5 to 7 years if I can pull off something like that again. But yeah, Carrie.
Hi, Adam. Thanks so much for holding this for all of us. So I work at a very small health science graduate school in Boston. So we don't have very many student leaders, maybe 100. Every year we'll give them either a jacket or a sweatshirt that is kind of emblazoned with IHP student leader so that they can wear it with pride around campus. And we give that out at our awards night, so it incentivizes them to come and get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Michelle, tell us about these medals. So it looks like you give medals instead of like trophies or plaques. But then there's a question. So who gets those medals? What does that look like? Does graduation allow them to wear them? What does that look like?
Yeah, they're allowed to wear them at graduation. They look like this. We've seen folks get much more jazzed about that than the paperweight ones. For the club awards, they just get a certificate. We're still working on. We used to only do one club award, and then now we're trying to get more.
Okay, so they get it's like an individual.
Yeah.
Leader.
So it's
okay.
Right, but they're pretty affordable if you got the kind of budget that sounds like Marcus has. Like, you can probably do something like that. And we do give one for our highest award. They get both a medal and a thing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
But I love the ideas around what folks are doing for clubs as a whole.
Mm-hmm. So we've got time for maybe one more question. If one of you came here with something you're dying to know about from other campuses, this is your chance.
I actually have a question. Are your campuses, are you all seeing a lot of engagement from your student organizations this year in terms of, did they complete the annual registration process to make them in good standing so then they would be eligible to apply for awards? Or are they, how's that kind of look for some of your campuses? The chat is perfectly fine to respond to.
Yeah, I also think looking at the faces of everyone frowning and shaking their heads, I think engagement is generally pretty down. Some people might have success stories, but I know for us, it's just keeping those bare minimum requirements is pretty much all we're hoping for right now. Yeah, so let us know in the chat what your struggles are. Yeah. Does anyone have a verbal response about how this year has been for your groups?
Yeah, I'll share. Marcus, yes, I think we're all in the same boat as you. What I experienced is actually our FSL, our fraternity and sorority life organizations have been very active, and especially this semester, very creative. And we have a lot of restrictions around doing anything in person, and so they're kind of few and far between. But especially our FSL groups have been very active. I've seen there. It seems like there's little gray areas. Either they're super active, even the non-FSL, or I don't know if this org even exists anymore because the people graduated and they're gone. So, so it'll be interesting, I think, and maybe it's a good topic or something to bring up with this group. It'll be interesting to see how annual registration goes this year. I think a lot of people graduated, and that organization is maybe in our campus labs list or whatever list, but we don't know what's actually happening with it. And so, so yeah, I think it might be a good touch point with everyone for this year.
Yeah, that might be a good topic for March or April. Yeah. So we're going to call it right now with 5 minutes till. But remember your homework if you have any documents that you want to send to be included. So any sort of rubrics, websites, anything that's in the chat, I'll already catch. But if you have something about awards that you think is worth sharing out to folks, just reply to any of the Student Org Summit emails you've gotten, any emails you've gotten from me directly, any of those will work. And if you can try, I said end of day, I'll give you until my 8 o'clock a.m. tomorrow, Pacific time, to send me that stuff so I can start compiling and getting out to everyone. And yes, when the video is posted, it'll include both breakout groups. Yeah, so thanks everyone. Remember, next week is a virtual tabling fair best practices, and that does require registration in advance. And there is kind of an extra step. You have to create an account and then you have to register. So make sure you do both. And we'll see a lot of you next week. Thanks for coming.